So, are you looking to move to Seattle and you are wondering what it's like to truly live here? Well, stay tuned because these are my top 5 reasons why I love Seattle. Hey everybody, my name is Tova Williamson and I am a local real estate agent in the Seattle metro area. And on my channel, I shoot tons of videos of what it's like to live in the Seattle area. So if those are videos you want more of, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, click that little bell so you'll be notified every time a new video comes on. We honestly get reach outs every day from people moving to the area and we absolutely love hearing from you. We love helping you, but we can't help unless you reach out and call us. So give us a call, email, text, whatever you got to do because we got your back when you're moving to Seattle. So this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why I love Seattle. I've lived in the area for like 12 years now. I lived in right in Seattle, right in the neighborhoods. Now I live further out in Kitsap County. It's a little quieter out here, but I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why I love Seattle and just this general area in general. So number 1 is neighborhoods. Seattle is such a neighborhoody city. There's so many different neighborhoods. Each one has like a different vibe, different just style, different restaurants, all different things. It's so cool because there's so many different neighborhoods and people that live in their neighborhoods, love their neighborhoods and are diehards on them. So it's just a really fun city because sometimes going to different neighborhoods feels like you're in a different town. Like each neighborhood has their little downtown area with stores and coffee shops and restaurants. Almost every neighborhood has a farmer's market. And if they don't have a farmer's market, they have another neighboring neighborhood has one that's really close. I mean, they all have their grocery store, your library. So all of the neighborhoods here are very self-contained. And if you don't have to leave for work or anything, a lot of the neighborhoods, you don't even have to leave. You can just stay. There's tons of restaurants and coffee shops. You got your grocery store, your library, your drugstore, your post office for the most part. So the neighborhoods can be very, I don't want to say reclusive, but you just you don't have to leave your neighborhood. And sometimes you get so stuck in your own neighborhood. And then when you want to go hang out in a different one, you're just oh, that's so far away. Some of the neighborhoods seem so far away. You're just oh, I have to drive that far. I just have everything I need in my neighborhood. So it's a really neighborhoody city. It's really fun. It's just so many different areas to explore. And so that's just one of the reasons why I really love Seattle. Number 2 is Seattle is all about beer and coffee. Those are 2 things that I really enjoy. So it's just such a great city for beer and coffee. It's also, I think, a pretty good area for wine. I'm not a huge wine enthusiast. I buy the $14 bottle at the grocery store. So I don't have a very distinct palate for wine, but I think there is still a pretty good wine following and selection here too. There's quite a few different wineries. So if you're into beverages in general, Seattle's a great place. The beer here is so good. Every neighborhood has a brewery almost, it seems or if not, there's one close by. There's so many different local tap houses and stuff too, where maybe they're not brewing beer, but they have rotating selections of local beers. It's very, very easy to just drink locally here, from places that are only from Seattle, because there's so many different beers here and different breweries. Ballard is a neighborhood in Seattle that's just full of breweries. There's so many breweries. You can just go brewery hop around to different areas. So it's really cool. And a lot of the breweries have their seasonal beers that they come out with. If you're into pumpkin beer, I don't like pumpkin beer, but a lot of people do. So you can get that from a lot of different breweries. They come out with their holiday beers, their summertime beers. One thing to note too here is Seattle is very big on IPAs. So if you're not a big IPA fan, you might have a hard time. I mean, they still have other beers, but IPAs are just everywhere. You go to the grocery store, and if you're just trying to find another type of beer, everything is IPAs. So if you're not into IPAs, I mean, you can still find plenty of beers, but it just is a little harder. And if you're wanting to get into IPAs, I try to just warn people, IPAs are very high in alcohol. Double IPAs, triple IPAs have 8 to 10% alcohol sometimes. So just be careful if you're starting out new and you want to try some IPAs. A lot of them, it's drinking 2 beers instead of 1. So just be mindful of that when you're drinking your beers. And same with coffee. Like there's so many good coffee shops around. Starbucks, we have, like, everybody knows Starbucks, and it's fine. It's nothing wrong with it. But there's so many different good little local coffee shops and coffee roasters and espresso and cold brew. Like there's just so much. I mean, I think every neighborhood I think has a Starbucks, but then they also have like 2 or 3 other coffee shops too. So it's just a really good place. Like if you like drinking beverages, Seattle's all about it. Like you've got your good coffee. They even have pretty decent like tea. There's some places that have a lot of tea shops. I don't drink a ton of tea either. I'm all about coffee, but yeah, you've just got great options when it comes to beer and good coffee. So number 3 kind of goes in with good beer and coffee too, but Seattle's such a foodie like city. There's so many different restaurants here. I mean, I've lived here since 2009 and I haven't even like touched the tip of the iceberg on the restaurants here. There's so many good restaurants. Like I said, with the neighborhoods, like you can get very kind of stuck in your own same areas and neighborhoods and not venture out to go try new restaurants because you're just like content with your little neighborhood. But there's so many good restaurants. I mean, we run the gamut from little hole in the wall places that aren't super fancy but are like really good food that have been around forever. We have a ton of local chains that people love, like Dick's Burgers is one. It's just like cheap burgers, but everybody loves it, especially at like 1 a.m. on a Friday night. It's nothing like a Dick's Burger. We've got like Mod Pizza is another kind of local chain that you just start seeing pop up around. It's like pizza, like Subway style kind of. You like pick all your toppings for your pizza. So there's a lot of very like beloved local chains that people love, but then there's also just really good mom and pop restaurants. There's a ton of like really famous popular local chefs here that have a ton of different restaurants. So you get kind of like the more upscale, higher end restaurants too, but then you still have these really good little local dives or local hole in the wall places that are awesome too. So there's just tons and tons of different food. Like you've got all kinds of, I mean, it just runs the gamut. We've got tons of like Thai food, Vietnamese, Italian, just American, whatever. I've yet to find like a really good Mexican place here. I used to live in Phoenix and had like my favorite Mexican food place there, and I just cannot find something that's even close to my favorite place there. So if you know of any good Mexican restaurants, hit me in the comments and let me know. But that's one thing that if you're moving from like southern areas where there's really good Mexican food, you might struggle to find something good. And I've also heard that about like sometimes people that are from the South and really into barbecue too. I feel like I've heard people complain that there's not really good like barbecue joints here either, which I'm not a huge barbecue like connoisseur. I don't know, but I hear people complain about that too. So again, if you know a good barbecue place, hit it in the comments, let us know. And one more thing I like to add about restaurants is there's a huge push for local ingredients here. There's a ton of restaurants that they go to farmers markets to shop for their produce, and their menu changes seasonally with what's in season. And so it's really cool. Like you might be going to the same restaurant all the time, but the menu's always changing. Like you're always getting fresh, new like plates and ideas. So it's just a really good restaurant foodie area. So if you're really into eating and food and drinking, like Seattle is a really great city for both of those things. Number 4 is the local beauty of this area. The whole like Puget Sound area and all of Western Washington is just absolutely beautiful. There's mountains. I mean, you can see my background. I mean, it's just beautiful. Like you've got the mountains in the background. When it's not raining and when it's sunny out, it is just like we're surrounded by mountains like everywhere, northeast, southwest, we're all around the mountains. And a lot of times it's cloudy, you can't always see them, but it's when it's sunny out and the clouds aren't around and you can just see like the snow-capped mountains in the distance and the glistening water. And it's just like, it's so beautiful. There's times that I get like teary-eyed driving and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe like how beautiful it is here. And there's a huge outdoor just recreation population here. Like people love getting outside and enjoying the area. So that's one thing that I just really love about here. Like it never gets old. I never get sick of seeing just the beautiful surroundings here. Like it literally, it sounds cheesy, but it's just like breathtaking sometimes. And you're just like amazed. You're like, oh yeah, it's cloudy a lot. I forgot that those mountains were here. But then when they're out, you're just like, oh, it's so beautiful here. So that's one thing I just love, and it will never get old. And I love how beautiful it is here. The fifth and final reason why I love Seattle is kind of one of those hot topic items is the weather. I know a lot of people complain about the rain here and they hate it. You know, people say that they moved here and they absolutely hated it because of the rain and the weather. And yes, it does rain, but I like it because it's very mild here as far as like temperature extremes go. I grew up in North Idaho where it snowed every winter. I hated driving in it. It was like the worst experience. I could not wait to leave and not ever have to drive in snow again. And here it rarely snows in the winter. And if it does, it's like a couple days and you don't drive anywhere. Nobody does. I mean, some people try, but it's very hilly. You will just like spin, and unless you have really good four-wheel drive car. But so yeah, the winters are not super extreme and cold. Every so often we'll get like a cold snap and it'll be kind of cold, or we will get a little bit of snow, but it's very few and far between. And the mountains are really close. Like if you miss the snow and you want the snow, just drive on up there and you can be in the snow. That's what I like about it, which I don't really go up to the snow that much because I don't like it, but still, it's very mild weather here. Same with the summer. It doesn't really get that hot. Again, yes, we get heat snaps where it's like 90 plus degrees and it's miserable because most places here do not have AC. It's not very common for a lot of these older houses to have AC. So people are, you know, when we get those 3, 4, 5 days of these heat snaps, it can be pretty brutal. But outside of that, generally for the most time in the summer, it's like perfect in 70s and 80s, and it's not that hot. So I really love how mild it is. And we still, besides like the snow, we still get pretty like well-rounded 4 seasons here. The spring is absolutely beautiful. There's so much greenery here that there's flowers in bloom all the time. We have like the cherry blossoms, daffodils, tulips coming up all over the place. Like it's just so pretty and full of color in the spring. Like, yeah, the sky may be gray because it's raining all the time, but the scenery is just like so colorful and beautiful. And same in the fall too. We have all of these deciduous trees in the area. So in the fall, they turn just like these beautiful shades of orange. Japanese maples are like the most beautiful trees ever in the fall. Like the colors are just so intense and beautiful. So you get all of those benefits of 4 season and like the beauty without the extremes either, without like the crazy intense heat in the summer and the crazy like snow cold in the winter. So for me, that's like the perfect weather for me. It may not be for everyone, but that's why I love living in Seattle. So moving to Seattle can be tough, especially if you don't know the area, you don't have like the insider scoop on it, but that's why I'm here. I'm here to help. I love hearing from you guys when you reach out, but I can't help you unless you reach out. So give me a call, email, text, because I've got your back when you're moving to Seattle.